So hello, my name's Arron. I'm local in Bellingen. I'm here to talk to you about some stuff, the body, the state of our nervous system, the way that we can get thrown off of ourselves and how we come home again. So I wondered if we might just start with thank you. Thanks, love. That's good. I wonder if we might just start with a little dropping in for a moment, just taking some breaths, bringing the awareness to this present moment, hearing the birds, the waters, feeling the wind on your skin, just noticing if the breath is short or long. Feeling that feeling of gravity gently pulling the weight of your body down, grounding you. And just scanning through, noticing if you can feel any tension, softening the eyes, the tongue, the jaw. And I'm going to invite you to bring your attention to the heart center. If you can feel that area, just putting your attention there. If you need to, you can place a hand there that can just help with the sensations around the heart center. And just as if you could breathe through this area. Long, slow, luxurious breaths through the heart. Almost as if you could anchor your awareness right here in the heart. Notice if the mind is flitting away to fantasy, to dreaming, to wondering. And we just keep bringing it home again and again. And as you place this anchor of awareness in the heart, very soon we're going to return to the room. But I want to invite you to practice a 90-10 rule where 90% of your awareness stays inside your being and just 10% in the external field as you open your eyes. It can help not to look at other humans to begin with, as we tend to draw more of our attention outside of ourselves when we look at others. But as you do, as you feel ready to open your eyes and come back into this space, just calibrate your awareness, feeling what it's like to put 90% of your awareness inside your being and just 10% in the external field. What's it like to be anchored in your body primarily, in the awareness of the sensations? And as you feel into your being, I want you to imagine that you've been gifted the most exquisite musical instrument that's ever been devised. That you've had this instrument with you your whole life. But very few of us are lucky enough to have teachers in how to use this musical instrument. Of course, I'm talking about the body. The way that we are with our bodies, of course, changes our reality, changes how we are with anything that happens. And so what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about understanding this musical instrument and how to work with it. I have little doubt as to the level of mastery of people in this room, the work that people have done on themselves, so I'm not presuming to inform you of too much more than you already know, but maybe give you a little bit of extra knowledge to fill a few little holes here and there, perhaps. And otherwise, it's a nice opportunity just to drop into your nervous system in stillness. And to understand this musical instrument, this exquisite, beautiful thing we've all been gifted, I find it useful to think of the history, think about where it comes from. That our ancestors and our ancestors' ancestors, going all the way back to primordial slime, all the way back to the beginnings of the nervous system. It starts about 500 million years ago. And at that time, the start of the nervous system is what we now call in our body dorsal vagal. It's half of the vagus nerve, half of the parasympathetic nervous system. And I like to think of it a bit like a way that through survival, evolution happens, through adversity, evolution happens. And if you imagine a little creature in the sea coming along and a predator comes along to eat it, the little creature literally collapses and it gets devoured. I think of it as nature's compassion. In us, this might show up as depression, as shame, as shutdown. That kind of time at 2 a.m. where the walls might be closing in that perhaps we've all experienced at times. This is baked into our bodies. I'll talk more about that in a minute. 400 million years ago, the sympathetic nervous system started to develop. There's only 3 parts of the nervous system. I'm not going to go heaps into it. So 400 million years ago, the sympathetic nervous system started to develop, which is the fight or flight system. Now a threat comes along, a predator comes along, and a prey can go, I'm going to eat you, or I'm going to run away, fight or flight. This is, of course, baked into us, and we all know it well as our own fight or flight system. And then finally, 200 million years ago, ventral vagal came online, the second half of the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the mammalian system. This is the part where we bond as herd creatures, as mammals who connect, who love, who take care of our young. And for us to be at Love Fest, for us to be in love, we need to learn how to live in ventral vagal most of the time. And that's kind of what we're talking about today. But there is one little extra addition to the nervous system. Even though I said there's 3, there's a secret little 4th one, and that's our prefrontal cortex. And this one is so new in evolution, so new. If you can imagine on a 24-hour clock, John Seed actually did it in his poem the other night, which I loved, and I often talk about the 24-hour clock with this. The nervous system starts at midnight. So that's where dorsal vagal begins. Sympathetic nervous system comes on about 4 a.m., 5 a.m., ventral vagal at about 11 a.m. The prefrontal cortex comes online at 11:59 and 57 seconds or so. It is so new. It's unbelievably new. So the rest of our nervous system is this ancient, ancient system that, well, it's going to take over when we feel threatened, because all of our ancestors survived because they had a good threat response. And we have this system in our nervous system that kept all of our ancestors alive, that keeps us alive, called neuroception. It's the nervous system's ability to perceive danger in the environment at any given time. And right now, you might be feeling quite safe, quite grounded. Yet if I was to suddenly look like that, I could have registered a heart rate spike in everyone who was looking at me's heart there, from you reading the sense of danger in my face as I looked around. The nervous system is always scanning for danger and safety. We might not even realize it. So neuroception is perception before cognition, before we think it's happening. And why is this useful to know? Well, it's easy for me to love my loved ones when everything's fine. When I'm at Love Fest, when I'm with friends, when I'm got no massive life stresses, no massive dramas going on. But what happens when I leave Love Fest and I go back to work and I go back to the familial family life, all the things. And there's a lot of joy and love in that, but of course there's a lot of triggers in that as well. And as one of my teachers, Gabor Mate, says, it's not the trigger you need to be worried about on a gun. It's the ammunition and who's the gun pointed at. So there are triggers when we go home, when we can get, well, I can get pretty obsessed with trying to set the conditions so I never get triggered. But actually, as I look at the triggers, I can actually start to see them as opportunity, because they give me an opportunity to look at, where's this bullets in the gun? Where do I go into fight or flight, into the sympathetic? Where do I go into dorsal? Where do I lose myself? Because my nervous system will take over and I will lose myself time and time again, as I'm sure many of you have at times. And the opportunity is to recognize when I'm out of sorts, when I've lost myself, and how do I come home? There's a great talk Alan Watts did on the music of life, and it was so inspiring for me. How we can get into the music of life, how life is not about getting to the end. It's about being in the moment with the music of life. And with this exquisite musical instrument that we all have, we have this opportunity to be in the music of life. But when I go into sympathetic nervous system, I feel unsafe. When I go into dorsal, I feel unsafe. I can't be in the music of life because I'm in survival response. And I like to think of it like this. Sympathetic nervous system, anyone who plays guitar, if you play guitar and your guitar goes sharp, you know it's disharmonious. The guitar string, it's sharp, it's brittle, it's fragile, it might snap any minute. That's like me when I'm in my sympathetic nervous system. I'm too sharp. When I go to dorsal vagal, when I go to the collapse state, that kind of shutdown state, it's the opposite. I've gone too flat. So the kind of remedy I need for each of these states is different. If my guitar string's too sharp, I need to detune it. If it's too flat, I need to tune it up. Does that make sense to everyone? But what does it mean to be in sympathetic? We all know the fight or flight. The fight-based emotions are anything from a little bit irked to full-on rage. It's a full spectrum. The flight-based emotions are a little bit worried to full-on panic, a full spectrum. So I can be a little bit in sympathetic, or I can be extremely in sympathetic. I can be a little bit in dorsal, where I just feel a little bit of shame, a little bit of depression, a little bit of kind of down feeling, or I can be extremely in it, which we might look at suicidal ideation and extreme isolation and disconnection that comes from that. And the yummy place, the place we all want to live, is ventral vagal. This is where we feel joy, where we feel presence, where we feel connection. And to be in ventral vagal, it's not just the absence of a threat. Because if it was just the absence of threat, I could go and just live in my bedroom on my own and I'd be fine. But actually, it's the presence of connection, the importance of being with other human beings. You ever notice that sometimes when you feel a bit off, you just want to be on your own and isolate? There's such a tendency to try and perpetuate the state that we're in if we're not aware of it. And the stories that can come up in those states really reinforce it. So when I'm in sympathetic nervous system, for me personally, I have this story that the world's incompetent and I'm the only one that can do it. I can get really stuck in that. And when I'm in dorsal, I can get really stuck in, no one can help me anyway. What's the point? And if I believe that story or I try and work on that story, it's quite hard because it's so pervasive. And we don't have time to do it today, but one of the things I do in the workshops that I run in the much longer format is we map out what's it like to be in each of these different nervous systems. And what we find is we're completely different people in each of them. Completely different. You ever had one of those rage spirals or shutdown spirals and afterwards you're going, whoa, why did I do that? That was quite bizarre. And hopefully we haven't caused too much harm to ourselves or others while we're in it, because then we've got to clean up from that. But if I try and deal with the thinking in that time, it's really hard. So what I'm talking about here is called polyvagal theory. And what we talk about in polyvagal is we attend to the state first. So this is why I'm talking about state shifting. When I change my state, I change my thoughts. When I change my state, I change my thoughts. So if I'm in sympathetic nervous system, and you'll all have your own stories when you're in sympathetic nervous system about how you see the world, how you see yourself, and when you're in dorsal vagal, the first thing, of course, is to recognize. My dear sister here, Annalise, who did a talk yesterday, was talking about, one of the things she was talking about was around noticing, well, I'm going to put it in my language, you put it far more eloquently than me. There's the thing, there's always the experience we're having, and there's our resistance to the thing, and the resistance almost puts glue on the thing. I don't want to feel angry, I don't want to feel down, I don't want to accept the way things are. So the first way to work with it is actually through accepting the way things are. Annalise taught me a lot of that. And once I can accept that I'm in a triggered state, I can do something about it. And for me personally, I can get really triggered. I can get really in my sympathetic nervous system. We all have a home away from home. Some of us, when we feel unsafe, we go to sympathetic nervous system straight away. Some of us go straight to dorsal, straight to that collapse state. And I'm just curious, does anyone here, I just want to see a show of hands if you're willing, whose home away from home is sympathetic nervous system when you get triggered to the fight or flight response far quicker? Mm-hmm. And who's dorsal? Uh-huh. Okay. So I'm going to speak to both of these states today. And it starts with bodily awareness. It starts with noticing what's happening in my body. So I wanted to just have an experience right now to put it out to everyone, to speak a couple of words of sensations you're speaking in the body. And sensations are things like pressure, tension, energies moving. It could be nausea, it could be open expansiveness. So it's not emotions and it's not thoughts, it's descriptions of bodily sensations. And I'm curious if anyone has any description, 1 or 2, 3 words of anything occurring in their body right now.
Tight lower back.
Tight lower back, thank you.
Movement in my chest.
Movement in the chest, swirling. Thank you.
Restless legs.
Sorry?
Restless legs.
Restless legs. Wonderful, thank you.
Holding my breath.
Breath holding, excellent, yes. Thank you.
Tension in the jaw.
Tension in the jaw.
Tension in the forehead.
Mm-hmm.
Fidget.
Fidget. Uh-huh.
Contracted pelvic floor.
Contracted pelvic floor.
Pressure in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Mind foggy.
Mind foggy. Mm-hmm. So I'm hearing, from what I'm observing here, many slight sympathetic and slight dorsal descriptions. The tense jaw is often a sympathetic description. The restless legs also, holding breath can be too. Foggy head's often a little bit of dorsal expression as well. There's a slight dissociation in a foggy head often. I'm not quite here. Tight lower back would potentially be a bit of sympathetic as well. We can start to reverse engineer what we're experiencing through the body from our sensations, through becoming aware of it. So for those of you that spoke to it just then, and everyone else who didn't speak to it but is no doubt experiencing something in their body, I want to invite you just to notice what's in your body right now, whether it's something you spoke to or something else. And I want to invite you to bring your awareness to that area or areas right now. And almost as if you could just allow it to be there. Remember that 90-10 rule. Imagine you could put 90% of your awareness into whatever that area is right now. And you imagine, if you will, that you could breathe into this area, you could soften around the edges, getting super curious about the sensations, just noticing them, not needing them to go, not needing to dive into them and act them out in any particular way, just being with them, as if you were with a little child, with that very compassionate adult curiosity you might bring. And just notice if you've got something tense, if you can bring even 1% of softness to it. And no matter how much softness you bring to something, you can always bring a little bit more life force into that area. Because so many of us have our ways to avoid our bodies. We have so many ways to avoid whatever it is that's going on. I certainly do. We might reach for food. We might reach for intellectual stimulation, for our devices, for substances. None of these things are wrong. They're all coping strategies. They're all trying to help us deal with something. And in my experience, that's often just for myself, my inability to remember, oh, I can just bring my attention to my body right now. I can bring my attention to that area that's uncomfortable, that's causing me some suffering or some pain right now. And so then the second layer with the sensations is where we can bring in some emotions. And the emotions are different to sensations. The emotions have got a slight little bit of narrative, not much, but a tiny bit, where we put a label on those sensations. And I'm curious if we go again, just a little popcorn opportunity, anyone that wants to, just a word or two of what you're feeling. And it isn't the thoughts, because often we can say something like, I feel like I want to leave. Well, that's not a feeling, that's a thought. And if we fuse thoughts and feelings, it can be very hard to work with the feeling. We can argue with a thought, but we can't argue with a feeling. The feelings are what they are in the body. The thoughts are the projections from the states. So I want to invite any feelings that anyone's noticing right now. Emotions. Tired. Thank you. Panic. Thank you. Anxiety. Calmness. Alive. Dreamy. Hungry. Content. So all of these experiences are welcome. And there's a whole range of them here. And I imagine every single one of these words we've all experienced at times. And there's the opportunity is to meet the emotion, meet the sensation, and recognize it. And if I may, you mentioned the word panic, which is, thank you for sharing that. That's in the sympathetic nervous system, right? On the flight-based experience. And it's quite a strong emotion. I don't mean to be singling you out, sorry. And so we can say if there's panic involved, it's like that guitar string that's tuned up super sharp. So how do I meet that panic in its nuance, in its sensations in the body? And how do I work with it? Now, we've all got a range of tools. I imagine anyone that comes to Lovefest has done 1,000 workshops here, there, and everywhere, although I'm projecting entirely here. But how do we think about these tools? So if I am in sympathetic, I want to be able to, bring the heart rate down, because in sympathetic, my heart rate's going up. I've got adrenaline flooding through the body. You can think all of your ancestors going back hundreds of thousands, millions of years have survived because when there was a danger, the heart rate would go up, the adrenaline would flood the body, the blood would go to the limbs, and we're getting ready to go, to run at the danger or run away. And that's fine if there's an actual danger. But in our sanitized world, we don't have so many dangers these days. But our body doesn't care about that. It still experiences it as if there is a danger. And that neuroception I spoke about earlier, there's 3 distinct directions that we're experiencing danger from. The external, is there a bear running at me? Is there something quite dangerous happening outside of me? The internal, And this is based on pain in the present moment, as well as my perception of reality through traumas from the past that are just lodged in my nervous system. And then relationally, which is a dynamic between two beings where I might feel unsafe with someone. I might experience manipulation or something like that where I just don't feel safe. We can say they're external, but because it's a dynamic between two humans, it's considered a third category. Please.
Is there also one that's future focused?
Yes, there is. That's a really good question.
Some of the things that stress me out aren't really even here.
Yes.
There's the future potentials.
Yes.
So
And I would say that's internal. That's the mind creating it inside of me, creating a possible future that doesn't exist. So, yeah, internally we've got traumas which are past based, pain which is present based, and kind of anxieties which are future based. Absolutely. And a lot of it, I mean, pain in the present moment is real. Trauma is, of course, real where it's got lodged in the nervous system. I won't go heaps into trauma right now, but trauma, and we can say projection of the future is based on the past.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that's past-based, projecting forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and while I'm on the topic, trauma is something we hear this word all the time. It's so overused in our society, so I just want to give a very brief clinical description of it, if I may, just to be clear on it. Trauma isn't what happens to you. It's not what someone says. It's not if you're in a car accident. The car accident itself is not traumatic. Someone doing something nasty is not traumatic. It's what happens inside your nervous system as a result of what happened. So if you think you're in a car accident and you have a big gash on your arm, it's a big wound on the arm, that's the trauma, not the car accident. And it's the same with a psycho-spiritual wound. But it's almost like it fragments our psyche slightly, and a part of our psyche gets caught, stuck in the moment in this overwhelm of energy. It gets stuck, and we create an adaptation around it. And that adaptation is something we might have come up with when we were 6, when we were 12, when we were whatever age as a child, and we're still playing it out as an adult. And a lot of therapy is going back and visiting and reintegrating a lot of those programs. But when I go into sympathetic, when there's not an actual danger, but I perceive danger, whether it's in the future, whether it's in the present or whatever, a lot of it is perception, not always. A lot of that's based on the past. So it's good for me to get to know what are the processes. So we've talked about sensations in the body. We've talked about emotions in the body. And then we come to perceptions. What is my perception of reality right now? And if I'm triggered, if I'm out of my center, if I'm not really here because I'm in sympathetic nervous system or I'm in dorsal, my perception of reality is completely different to when I am here. And so rather than trusting in that perception of reality, my first job is to establish safety in my nervous system. And remember, safety is 2 things. It's the absence of threat and what? Connection. Thank you. So I need to be connected with loved ones in some way to establish safety. And that can be a pet. It doesn't have to be a human being. Or I need to be connected inside with higher power, with whatever works for you. And only once I come back can I review what just happened there. How did I lose myself? But until I'm back in my center, well, it's hard to do that. So I thought we might practice a few tools, a few things that some of you maybe have practiced before, but it's always good to practice again. Different ways that we can tune our nervous system back to stillness. And some of the tools are more for dorsal vagal, and some of the tools are more for sympathetic nervous system. But before I go into the tools, is there any question? I've gone into a bit of theory here. It's been a bit cognitive, I get that. Any questions, anything anyone's not clear on before we proceed? I'll take that as a good sign.
Can I ask a question? Because you talked about, I haven't heard it talked about like this. I love it. Anyway, but so the main stresses I feel in my body, it's sort of like I put my hand up for dorsal vagal, but it's almost like there's an anxiety. I wake up in the morning sometimes and it's not even about anything.
Yeah.
But there's like an anxiety, and then I squash it with the depression. And then I go, and then I I have lots of tools for getting out of that, and I don't do it. But that's what I feel when you like, what's my habit? It's that. It's like, But I'm just
Yeah.
wondering about that blend.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
the
for
blend
that.
between that.
And we do. And so I've talked about it in its purity, the 3 different states, but absolutely we do get blends of them. And most of us intuitively find coping strategies to deal with them, whether we're aware of what's going on in our nervous system or not. And that's a great example of that. And a great example as well is sometimes we wake up and there's no apparent reason for the state that we're in. But I'm not a big fan of the why. Even though I'm a psychotherapist and I help people discover the why in time, I'm far more of a fan of the how. I find it far more pragmatic. How do I work with my nervous system right now? My mind is a bit like a Labrador. If I throw it a stick that says, why am I so messed up? It'll come up with 1,000 reasons why I am. It'll find all the reasons. But if I give it a stick that says, how do I find my way through this? Well, that's a much easier way to actually find something that's going to work. But, I mean, on that evolutionary psychology way, our minds tend to negativity bias. Why? That neuroception part of my brain is always scanning for danger. It's always scanning for some kind of threat in the environment. And this goes back millions and millions of years. So it's just baked into us all. And I suppose there's a lot of modern culture that's a part of it, which I won't go into right now. But we do need to, in my experience, counter that negativity bias. Left to its own devices, my mind will tend to the negative. So I need practices. I need to work it through again and again and again. Now, I called this workshop Shifting States. And I'm interested in shifting states, but that's only useful to a point. I'm actually more interested in shifting traits. And it's only through shifting states over and over and over again can I train my neurology through neuroplasticity to actually do something different. Most of us have got so many autopilot programs we're running from childhood, from our inherited lineages, from our culture, from our media, from everything that's imprinted this entity I call me. Some of it's very useful, and some of it not so much so. And so I've got an opportunity to meet that and work with it. I think there was one more thing from what you shared that I wanted to share on. But I can't for the life of me remember it. But thank you for your question. Did that kind of answer it?
Yeah. I was just wondering about the blend. Like,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But that was beautiful. I'm really interested. It sounds terrible. I'm interested for my partner.
Uh-huh.
Just because he wants that mental stuff.
You wouldn't believe how many women clients I have say that.
Well, I've worked with like the stuff that you're talking about, but I've never learnt it from that space and knowing about it.
Yeah.
It's like, and yeah, like I said, because that's the R that you have to find.
Right.
But for him, like we've been together for 5 years. He just still stays in those places, and as much as, and he goes to my teachers,
Yeah.
he's just not, and I'm like, he needs to come to you, but you can explain it to his head so he can.
Yeah, as you might tell, I'm intellectually oriented, and I needed to work out the framework intellectually because my mind needs to be on board before I can drop in.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
That's right.
Yeah, and you know, on that, it's a hierarchical stack. So there's one thing I didn't mention about polyvagal I'd like to also mention. When I feel safe, when I feel connected, I'm calm, I'm in the present moment. And by the way, just check in on your breathing right now. Anyone holding their breath, shallow breathing, just inviting you to soften, be with your body more than me. Your body's more important than me. When I'm in ventral vagal and I'm calm and I'm connected, everything's fine, it's easy. I can do life pretty easily. And then something happens, life throws me a curveball, it's inevitable, it's gonna, with all of us, you're gonna leave here by Monday, by Tuesday, by Wednesday, something's gonna throw you off kilter at some point. And then I'll go to sympathetic. The first thing I go to is sympathetic. Even the people that put up their hand for dorsal vagal at the start there, we predictably go through sympathetic to begin with, even if it's for a split second. That's just how the hierarchy of the nervous system happens. I have to go through sympathetic to get dorsal. And to come back from dorsal, I have to come back through sympathetic. You might have seen it in a nature documentary where, say, an antelope is about to be caught by a crocodile, and it gets away from the crocodile and it shakes to get back to ventral vagal. So that only went to sympathetic, it didn't shut down. But then you think about the mouse who plays dead, that the cat's got the mouse. And if anyone who's got kids, there's a whole drama around it, and you've got to get the mouse, and is it still alive? We don't know. We put it in the shoebox, and hopefully at some point it will come alive, and you're praying, please come alive. Oh, we're going to be having a sad funeral. And if it does, it's kind of thawed out because it was in full-on dorsal vagal. It knew it couldn't get away from the cat. The body has literally shut down entirely. And dorsal vagal is the opposite to ventral. Where ventral, sympathetic, heart rate goes up, adrenaline goes up, we're getting ready to go in sympathetic. In dorsal vagal, all the blood rushes away from the limbs, it comes back to the core. Endorphins start to flood the body. And nature's compassion, if a bear's about to devour me alive, I don't want to feel it. I'm dissociated, I'm out of it. I think it's such a divine thing. If we're going to be in a realm of teeth and parasites, it's quite nice that we're not going to feel it so much. But also, and also, if you lose a limb, you're less likely to die because you're not going to lose as much blood. But without all the gory details so much, the point being, there's predictable states our body goes into. So when we're in dorsal vagal and we just want to crawl under the doona and close the curtains and not really exist, and hopefully the world will go away, that's that predictable preparing for death stage that the body's just going to go into. And to get out of that, so I'm going to start with dorsal vagal stuff. What do you think we need to do to get out of it? Anyone?
Breathe.
Breathe, sure, but very specific kind of breaths. Activate. Who said that? Thank you. Yes. We need to activate. We need to stimulate the system. Exactly that. So that mouse playing dead, what does it do if you've ever seen a mouse that's played dead and comes back alive? It wakes up, it will start to freak out in the box for a while, and then it might calm down once it realizes it can't go anywhere right now. But there is this shaking, this movement to begin with. And so I don't know if you ever had any friends who have gone into that kind of shutdown state and you've wanted to help them and they want to close the curtains and you go in like a kind of matron and open the curtains. Come on, we're going to get out to the day. We're going to do the thing. We kind of intuitively know it with our friends quite often, but how quickly we might not with ourselves.
I'm thinking about a dog sleeping as well. Like, you know, when you can tell when they're running and stuff like that, and then they'll whimper and they do go into different things, but there's definite shake periods as well.
Right,
like,
while they're sleeping.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wondering if they're going through some of that stuff when they're, you know.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept. Being in the dream space as you're experiencing the different nervous system states. Mm.
We get the rapid eye movement, don't we? Which
Yep.
is like processing.
Mm-hmm. That's a whole realm I haven't explored actually, but that sounds really interesting. Yeah. So when we come back from dorsal, first of all, we got to notice a name. I feel shut down right now. Like, if you can think, anyone can think of a time, I don't need you to say it out loud, but just think in your mind, a time where you felt quite strong dorsal in recent times, or even just a little bit of dorsal, that kind of collapse, kind of slightly hopeless, slightly pointless place. And I wonder, as you think about it, remember I said the prefrontal cortex is so new. When I imagine things, my nervous system responds almost as if it's happening. When I think about something really depressing, I notice a heaviness coming over my nervous system. So even as you think about times right now where you felt really checked out, where you felt really disconnected, I want you to just notice what happens in your body. And I want to invite just anyone to say, do you notice anything occurring in your nervous system as you think about a sad time, a hopeless time?
I'm slouchy and heavy.
Slouchy and heavy?
Just took a deep breath, but maybe that was to counteract it.
Maybe, absolutely.
My limbs feel heavier.
Limbs feel heavier.
Slowing down.
Slowing down? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's a massive slowing down in dorsal.
A dulling.
A dulling? Yes.
A tightening in the neck.
Say again?
A tightening in the neck.
A tightening in the neck? Right. What were you going to say?
Just like a dense, it's like a fog or something, a dense.
A fog.
Filling you up, like filling that comes down.
A
Yes.
heavy heart.
A heavy heart. Right.
Sedated.
Sedated. Mm.
Oh, I feel sad.
Sad.
Actually. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And I want to welcome all of these experiences. They're very natural, normal experiences for all of us. We've all known these places, unless anyone hasn't. Right? And so what do we do when we're in dorsal? As our sister over here said, we need to activate the body to stimulate ourselves because we have to come back through sympathetic. So for a moment, I wonder if we all might stand up. And often when we're in dorsal, the last thing we want to do is move our body. We just want to go, fuck it. I just want to just lie on the couch and watch Netflix and eat crappy food. And we're always drawn to the drugs that perpetuate that system, it seems. So we're just going to shake our bodies, just starting to move, stamping the feet a little bit, shaking the body and taking some deep breaths, bringing the oxygen in. Because remember, in dorsal, the blood is flowing out of the limbs, so we're trying to bring the blood into the limbs. And just staying standing, I want to invite, if it's okay, and if you don't want to do this, you don't have to at all, but just looking around the room and making eye contact with other people. When we connect with other humans, and you don't have to do this if you don't want to just look down, if you don't feel safe to make eye contact at the moment, that's fine. Just notice how it feels to make eye contact with other humans. We get a massive dump of oxytocin when we look in the eyes of others, which is that yummy love bonding chemical. And of course, with the stimulation, we can also rub our own skin. If you feel okay to, just this also releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is the molecule of ventral vagal. It's the way we come home and we really feel ourselves. We can do it with other people as well, but I'm not going to suggest we do that right now. But if you've got loved ones at home, asking for a hug is a very, very wonderful and powerful thing from a neurochemical point of view. So, just as we're doing this, I'm curious, how's everyone feeling from the movement, from the activation? What's happening in your nervous system now? Sorry?
Little tingles in anywhere that's sore.
Tingles? Sorry? Smile on my face? More alert?
Relax through my
Uh-huh. Yawning? Relief? Very good.
relaxation in my spine.
Just that relaxation. Yeah. And what have we done? We've literally stood up, moved our bodies and breathed a bit. How wonderful. It's free, it's always available. And yet, my mind will go to the most elaborate degrees to try and not feel that heavy feeling. And, you know, we can go on missions for hours and days that cost loads of money, that cost loads of drama and loads of problems. And all I need to do is move my body and just breathe. Look in the eyes of a loved one or some friends. It's bizarrely simple. So let's have a seat again.
And the instinct though is to like curl up and like not move and
Right.
have no.
That's right.
Nothing.
But once we know that instinct to just want to curl up and go, fuck you, world, we can meet that instinct. And rather than wronging it and saying, oh, I hate that I'm like this, I hate that I keep shutting down, we can meet it with like, hey, look, that thing's happening again. And rather than getting in the story about it, because if I hate it, I'm stuck in that, oh, this is all hopeless, I'm never going to get out of it. And now I'm in a feedback loop. So rather than trusting in what the mind's saying in that way, I work on my state first. If there's one thing I would invite you to take away from this workshop, it's work on state first. When I change my state, I change how I think.
Wow. Is it not something, because sometimes I feel like it's just a process that I have to go through and to just sit in that space. Should I not just allow that process, or should I get up and move my body and do the things?
I think that's a really, really great question. And I think it's yes for both, depending on the situation. Sometimes I've literally got something arising that needs to be met and needs to be processed. So, but the key with both is I'm meeting it. If there's something, that energy that needs to move, while I'm present with that and it's not moving super fast, fine. I'm being with that as best I can. It's not always going to move super fast. What we might call a process is also, remember I said in sympathetic, from a little to a lot, dorsal from a little to a lot, both of them are spectrums. So a process we could say is, I've just got a lot of sympathetic coming up right now. I've got a lot of panic or a lot of something else, and I've just got to be with that for a while. I'm not going to put out a forest fire with a little thimble of water. I've got to really work with the forest to dampen those flames for quite some time, and that's my process, and lots of insight can come through that. But the important thing is, I'm meeting it. I'm meeting it. So as I mentioned before, I'm not trying to get rid of any feelings. I'm not trying to go, this hopelessness is shit, and I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm just going, hey, look, hopelessness is here. And what happens if I move my body? What happens if I bring some activation into the nervous system? Does that make sense? And I know from my past, not past life, but past in this life, when I was in my teens and my 20s, a process that might take months because I don't really know how to work through it, I can now do in an afternoon because I've got the tools to work with it. And that's kind of the point, right? Is I want to get more efficient at working through things and find quicker and quicker ways of coming home. And sorry.
The awareness that the bear isn't going to eat us, you know what I mean?
Right,
like, yeah,
right.
Sure, you've got some shit you need to work through, but do you really need to do it in this activated or shut down state? It's not.
That's right.
Helping the survival at that point, is it?
Thank you. And there is one caveat to this. Some people do live with dangerous people. Sometimes the nervous system is giving very, very real signals about what's going on. And we've got to respect that as well. You know, so we're meeting it. But as we're meeting, like I said, we're not trying to change anything other than being present and working with it. So if the signal is, I'm unsafe right now from that external or from relational, well, maybe I need to go and seek some further support from that. There's only so much I can do on my own if I'm entwined in some dangerous relationship, let's say. I won't go heaps into that, but I work with a lot of domestic violence survivors, experiencers, and it can be very intertwining and get very stuck in it. So what we're talking about here is more when there's not an actual danger and it's more of a perceived danger. That's another workshop when there's an actual danger. So let's move to sympathetic. What is sympathetic again? Fight and flight. And what are the hallmarks of sympathetic nervous system? Rising heartbeat, sorry? Shallow breath can be, absolutely. Anxiety. Tightening, yeah. Wanting to run, yes, yes. Our sister over there mentioned restless legs before, and I immediately thought of a bit of sympathetic nervous system. And one thing I've noticed, because I've worked with a lot of clients over the years, is when people are in sympathetic, I notice they'll often describe sensations that are like a bracing position. There'll often be a tension here, here, like we're really bracing for impact when there isn't one. There's no impact coming. And imagine being in that for hours, for days, for weeks, for months, for years. The body flooded with cortisol. And then, of course, it's going to have a domino effect into all of your organs, all of your systems in the body. So a lot of people that come to see me with chronic diseases, you know, I'm really interested in how do they hold their body? What's actually underpinning that? Because it's not like they're causing the disease, it's not their fault, but there are unconscious programs that perpetuate it. And many of us, and I'm middle-aged now, and I often think of middle age where we're often sharing our maladies and different things wrong with our bodies as mortality really sets in. But as I start to look underneath that, it often comes back to how I'm holding my body. I've been in what I would call sympathetic overdrive most of my life. And I've caused chronic fatigue through it. And I have to be very careful with my nervous system now because I have an autonomic nervous system dysfunction. But I've had to learn this stuff so that I don't cause myself any more harm because I didn't know how to deactivate it before. And I still forget half the time. Like all of you, I'm on the journey too, right? So sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, heart rate up, adrenaline going. So I want to invite you just to take a moment to think of a time. Again, I don't want you to share it, just in your own world. Think of a time when you got quite activated in recent times. And it can be fight or flight. We tend to one or the other. And I want you to notice as you think about this, who was there? If there were people there, what was their look on their face, in their eyes, their tone of voice? What was being said? Or what was out of your control? And as you do this, notice what's happening in your body. So I want to invite, if you want to, any sensations or emotions as you think about this.
Uprising energy.
Uprising of energy. Thank you.
I feel my energy like pulling away.
Pulling away.
Backed into the corner.
Yeah.
Right.
And my stomach just went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Century, like focus.
Feel it in my esophagus. Diaphragm.
Yes.
Shaking.
Shaking.
I feel like my bristles are up.
Yes.
Mm.
Right. And look at this, right? Sorry. Racing. And the funny thing is, we all know there's no danger here right now. This is the body responding to the imagination. And yet that danger was real. That thing you experienced that you were thinking about, that was happening at some point in the past. So imagine if your body's responding to it when it's not real now, how much it was responding to it when it was happening. And often, because of the way the sympathetic nervous system works, we're not tuned into our nervous system at the time. Some of us are, if we've done a lot of work or we're blessed enough to have just been brought up in that way, where that's normal to attune to our nervous system. I certainly wasn't brought up in that way. And most of my clients weren't either, because if they were, they probably wouldn't be coming to see me, because they're able to work with their nervous system in real time. So sympathetic nervous system, what do we need to do to come back to ventral?
Slow, deep breath.
Slow, deep breath. Yes, that's one thing we can do. There's a theme. Exactly. We're trying to calm. We're trying to bring everything down. So the slow, deep breath works within that. Absolutely.
Is it like maybe I missed something, but like being aware that you're in that space, like that's
Yes.
the first thing.
It is for both dorsal and sympathetic. Unless I'm aware, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a real commitment to noticing. And this is why we're talking about sensations and emotions, because my mind won't realize I'm aware necessarily, because I'm stuck in my little story about me and how poor little me is being blah, blah, blah. But when I come to the sensations and I come to the emotions, I can go, oh, look, that thing's happening. I'm tensing right now. I'm pulling back right now. I've got that belly thing happening right now. And we've all got our own expressions. Everyone's body expresses it slightly different. There are universal themes, but they all express slightly different. And for us to get to know our own way, and in time, you can really grow what we call neuroception, the ability to perceive inside your own nervous system to increasing nuance and to meet that there in real time. So we want to slow it down. So we're going to do a breath right now. We can do a slow breath, but I'm actually going to do a slightly different breath to start with. This one's really good. It's like, I think of it like the emergency stop button on a machine that's, when it's going a bit haywire or something. Anyone that follows Andrew Huberman online, he talks about this being the most scientifically studied breath and blah, blah, blah. It's a really fast way to calm the nervous system. It's called the physiological sigh. And what we're going to do, I'll show it you first, and then if you want to do it with me, you can. If you don't want to do it, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to inhale through my nose, and then I'm going to snort before I exhale. And the snort is going to activate the diaphragm. The diaphragm has a little nerve called the phrenic nerve that runs to the amygdala, which is the alarm center of the brain. When kids sob, that's actually a self-soothing technique that's hacking into that helps a kid to calm. So we're actually going to hack into the same system whilst hyperoxygenating the body. So an inhale followed by a snort, and then a long exhale as if I'm blowing out of a straw. So I'll do it once, and then we'll all do it together, unless there's any questions after I do it once. So it looks like this. Should we all do it together? So inhale. And as you exhale, I really invite you just to soften all of the body. Now, for those that want to, we're going to do 10 of these breaths. And I invite you never to do this breath in water or driving. I've done this breath whilst driving before, a similar one to it, and I nearly crashed my car. It's a very bad idea.
Too relaxed.
Yeah. Yeah, little woo. All right, so before we go in, I want you to just think about that thing, that sympathetic activating memory that you had a moment ago. We're literally intentionally activating the body into sympathetic nervous system. And just notice for you, you don't need to say it out loud, but just notice for you the attributes in your body, the sensations, the emotions, just scanning through and noticing. And then we're going to do the breath now. And then we're going to compare to the end. So off we go. I'm going to count it and I'll set the pace, but you can go at your own pace as you wish. Off we go. If you need to stop at any time, listen to your nervous system. That's 5 in. You might be feeling quite lightheaded, that's normal. In. In. Two more left. In. Last one. And as you finish this last one, if you will, keep your awareness inside your being, just meditating on the energies there. And just noticing the sensations, the emotions, before language even, just the experience of them. That was about 30 to 40 seconds of breathing. How did that change your state right there? Does anyone want to speak to a word or two of any shift you noticed? Embodied. Thank you. Floaty. Thank you.
Clear.
Sorry?
Clear.
Clear. Thank you. Grounded. Sleepy. Sometimes it can really expose an underlying tiredness when we come back to ventral because we've been going.
Spacious.
Spacious. Thank you.
Connected.
Connected. Thank you. Sorry? Chilled. Now, if anyone didn't get to this place, that's absolutely fine. It's normal to not always get straight to ventral just through one breath. So there's nothing wrong with you if you didn't get to this state. Sometimes it takes a bit longer or we need a slightly different tool. So it's an exploratory laboratory. Now, we are nearly at time, I'm aware, but I wanted to just finish with how we might think about to apply these things. Now, there's lots of different tools out there. I'm sure you've all got a toolkit of different things you can use. We've introduced just the activating to come down from dorsal and the calming. That breath, funny enough, is very calming and chilling to come out of sympathetic. There's almost infinite variety of things you can do to come out of both. Back to ventral, but it's all about coming home. So I want to put it to you like this. As you go through your life, as you go through this coming week, you come back from Love Fest. Maybe you're on the highway home, it even happens then. Maybe you get home and there's life happening, get back to work. Life's going to throw you a curveball, and you might notice a rising of sympathetic. You might notice a rising of dorsal a little bit. My invitation there is to find space, even if it takes 2 minutes to go to the toilet stalls at work, even if it takes a minute to walk around the block, whatever's practical for you, to weave it into your day and just check in. What's actually going on for me right now? and then meet it. Because until I can leave from a situation where I'm getting heightened, sometimes I can do it in real time when I get good at this, I can't actually see the forest for the trees. So to leave immediately, then to breathe, so I work on it. Once I've breathed and I've calmed down, I can perceive what just happened there. What did I just get heightened from? Then I can conceive. I'm putting a model very, very quickly here. I can conceive, what do I want from this situation once I'm calm? What do I want from this relationship, from this work project, from whatever it is I'm working on? And then I can go back to retrieve. So we got leave, breathe, perceive, conceive, and now retrieve. I go back and I try and retrieve the situation, meeting it with a new state of mind. Because if I just power through with whatever the thing is, and I'm lost. And I'm going to approach it in that sympathetic domination way, which is or the flight way, or the this is hopeless, there's no way through. I can't find a way through with that. So when I meet myself, I can finally come back to retrieve and then weave a new way into whatever it is I'm processing. So it starts with establishing safety. My nervous system is predicated on safety. Love is predicated on safety. I can only love my loved ones when I feel safe. So if I don't feel safe in a situation and I can't work out why, I need to find a way to give myself the space to see into that. And I think we're all capable of that insight when we give ourselves the space. But my tendency is to go, I haven't got time for that. So I've got to meet that part of me and go, maybe I do. Maybe actually it's going to make me way more efficient at whatever it is I'm doing. Look, I could talk for a long time on this, and I've tried to distill. I'm doing a 10-week workshop at the moment. I'm running it in a week and a half. If anyone's interested, I've tried to distill 10 weeks into an hour, and it's 10 weeks, 2 hours a week over Zoom, and I know Zoom doesn't suit everyone. But if you're interested on going deeper in any of this kind of work, you're welcome. And that's a great ventral vagal expression too. Great expression. If you're interested in going deeper on this work with me, please come and talk to me. I'd love to have you come and join for a deeper workshop with me. Yeah, I could keep talking for the next 3 hours, I'm sure. So I want to respect all of your time and your day and your nervous systems. As you go about today, I want to invite you to one last possibility. And it's a rhythm of contemplation where I want to invite you to the possibility of weaving in still points in the day. At Lovefest, it's easier to do because it's kind of part of it. But of actually weaving in, whether it's through a mechanical alarm on your phone or through particular things like meal times and breaks at work. People go for smokos all the time, right? People who smoke. I advocate for breathos. To just take a breatho, as if you're smoking 20 a day. Take 20 breathos a day where you just stop for 3 or 4 minutes. No scrolling, no anything other than just being with yourself to check in. And that's that changing trait. You do this over and over and over again, it'll just become second nature. And you won't need to take the breathos after a time. Like practicing scales on a piano, you'll just become a proficient musician at this incredible, exquisite instrument that you've been gifted, that you will have till the moment you die. And so why not master it? Thank you so much for today.